Hey, what's up everyone? Imran here with Monster Gadgets. Today is Tuesday, March 18, 2019. And today we are talking about 10 things you need to know before you go out and shoot on site. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back. As you guys can see, I'm not exactly in my space today. I've got a visitor from England visiting, so that space is currently being utilized by her. But nonetheless, we're here. You guys are here with me in my dining room. We're gonna get this done. Let's get started. So a little backstory. I've been doing photography, videography for a number of years. I've done a lot of on-site weddings, a lot of commercial shoots, things like that. I took a break from it for a while to get into the corporate world, and I promise sooner or later I'm gonna do a video so you guys know my story. But for now, for the sake of time, we're gonna just cut it short. And most recently, I did a commercial for a restaurant over the weekend, and I know I tweeted out. Did I tweet it out? No, I put it on my Instagram. Yes, I put it on my Instagram that I'm gonna be revealing a video this week on the inside of that video shoot. But unfortunately, I've not been able to deliver that product yet to my customer, so I can't really leak it yet or reveal it yet. So you guys will just have to wait. I promise it's done. I just gotta make sure I deliver the product before I show it to you guys on YouTube. But it'll be up hopefully by next week. I'm hoping I can meet the customer this week to get that done. So I wanted to go over at least the top 10 things, from my opinion, that you guys need to be mindful of if you're going on site for the first time, or even if you are an experienced photographer, videographer. Something to keep in mind so that way when you do go on site, you have a successful shoot. So let's talk about number one. I've got exactly 10 sheets of paper here, so I want to make sure I get this right the first time. So number one, it is, can you guys read that? So why do you want to know the crew? Number one, when you're on site, they're going to be the people that you're going to be working with. So knowing who's going to be there on site the day that you're going to be shooting, getting to know them ahead of time, understanding how they work, what their roles are, it's gonna be that much easier for you to go in and know exactly what to shoot, because those people are there to help you and you wanna be their friend. So get to know the crew before you get on site for the actual shoot. That way they can assist you, that way they know who you are and how you function and your personality. It just makes it for a much better experience. So that's number one. Number two, perfect. Post signs. So what I did was I posted a sign at the door as well as the counter where people come in and place orders. Just outlining, basically it says notice on top, and it says, today we will be shooting a promotional content video on site. If you don't wish to be photographed or videographed, please let one of the managers know and we will be happy to comply. That way it's respectful to the customers that are coming in. You're not really messing up the flow of the business. You're not affecting the clientele that are coming in. And plus it makes you look a lot more professional. A lot of times what happens is if you don't post up signs, people look at you kind of walking around with the equipment, kind of funny, not knowing what's going on. And so just be honest, be upfront, let them know you're dealing with, or you're making a promotional content video for the restaurant or establishment, wherever you might be shooting. And that way people understand what's going on and they're not going to be kind of upset. So that is tip number two. Tip number three is, there it is, be nice. Number three, simple, right? I mean, we could all utilize this probably in our daily lives as well. But when you're on site and you're shooting, be nice. I mean, people might have read those signs that you posted up. They might not have read those signs. Just as a common courtesy, what I've done in the past is I'll just go up to a table and just be like, hey, my name is such and such. I'm with Monster Snap Studios or Monster Gadgets, whatever. And let them know you're shooting a promotional content video. Is it okay if you're in the video? If you don't want to be in the video, I won't include you. But as a common courtesy, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to be shooting in your direction and you might be in the video. So 99% of the times people won't care. They'll be like, oh yeah, that's fine, go for it. I actually had one guy, he goes, well, if you want me to be in the video, go for it, but am I gonna break your camera? So people have a good time with it. Just be nice to them, let them know what's going on. Smile, because not only are you there to please your customer and their establishment, but who knows, maybe someone's in that restaurant or someone's in that establishment that could be your future customer. So if you're having a good time and you're showing that you're smiling and you're interacting and those type of things, who knows, maybe you can pick up another customer from there and let them know who you are. You're kind of branding your company as well. So comes in handy. Use it on your shoots. Use it every day. World's a terrible place. Be nice and everything will be good. All right. Number 4 is, all right, my handwriting is getting worse and worse as I'm typing these, but here's number 4. Ask questions. So again, I'm using the restaurant as an example. You want to go in and ask them, you know, what are some things that they want you to focus on? Is there a special dish? Is there a special part of the restaurant that you should be focusing on or highlighting? Do they have like a mission statement that they want to display, or some type of slogan that they want you to focus on, and things like that? So if you know all that information ahead of time, you can kind of figure out which angles you want to be able to shoot. That'll make sure that you deliver the content based on what they're telling you they want you to shoot. So obviously you'll put your own spin to it, your own creative mind to it, but ask questions, figure out what is going to be best for you to shoot, what they're looking for well ahead of time. Don't do it on the day of the shoot, because then it just makes you look like you're unprepared. So again, ahead of time, figure out what content they want you to focus on. That way you're delivering on what they're looking for, not just what you put together. So that is tip number 4. Tip number 5. This one is pretty simple, but again, I just want to throw it out there. Be early and be prepared. There's no worse feeling than getting into a shoot, finding out you left your battery at home, you left your light at home, or you left your microphone at home, or whatever it might be. It just makes you look very unprofessional. And if you show up early, it'll give you enough time to set up and give you time for any fixes that you need. I've been in a shoot where I went fully prepared, had all the batteries, had everything, but somehow one of my flashes just wasn't firing. And so luckily I was there about an hour early. There was a Best Buy down the street. Saved myself by going to Best Buy, buying a flash, and going on site and being ready. The owners or the customers never even knew my equipment had failed, but it's a good thing to be early. That way you can test out your equipment, make sure it's working, it's good to go, and makes you look like you're fully prepared and professional. So that is tip number 5. All right, so guys, sorry about the light. It's a beautiful day out in Naperville. It's about 40 some degrees and actually sunny for once. And so the sun is just blowing up my camera. So I apologize. I know you guys can still see me, but the window keeps getting brighter and darker, so I apologize for that. So let's move on to tip number 6. And that is scope out the joint. So wherever you might be shooting, scope it out. Figure out which angles you want to shoot, figure out, and think about really what transitions you want to be able to make. Because if you know what transitions you're making in post, you can shoot for those transitions while you're on site. So not only that, like I said earlier, also know what your customer wants you to capture so that we can go and capture those things. But it's very difficult to get into post and think about, oh, you know what? I wish I would have done this transition, but you don't have the footage for it because you shot it differently. So in that way you can shoot those angles and know exactly how you can edit it, and you got the footage for it in post. Make sure you focus on that. Tip number 7 is, oops, I can't type, I can't write. Busy times and slow times. You are most likely not going to be able to be on site for just one time frame and be able to shoot everything you want. You're probably going to have to do multiple visits, or at least in one day, figure out which time is the establiishment's going to be busy, which time it's slow. That way you can capture the restaurant, for example, if you want to capture an empty restaurant or certain parts of it where there isn't as much traffic, versus the other part where you want to capture a lot of people coming in and going, people enjoying themselves, whether it's at a bar or whether it's at a restaurant, actual table, whatever it might be. Figure out what times are slow times and what times are busier times. Obviously, you can always ask the customer you're working with, so that way, again, asking those questions, being prepared for it, you know exactly what you want to be able to shoot, what you want to be able to capture. Slow times, capture the shots you don't want in traffic. Busier times, capture the shots that you want to be able to show and illustrate in your project. So that is tip number 7. Tip number 8 All right, so tip number 8 is break up your shoots in multiple times, multiple days. You know, if you are doing this full time, you probably already have a busy schedule as it is with shooting multiple projects, editing, and everything else that goes on in our daily lives. But if you try to capture too much in one day, not only are you going to tire yourself out, but you are probably going to tire your mind out as well. So you're not going to be able to capture those creative shots that you want to be able to capture. So if you've got a bigger project, bigger establishment, something that you want to be capturing a whole lot, and you're able to break it up in multiple days, definitely do that. That way you're not focused on just one full day of shoot and not being able to keep up with the creativity of your mind. So this also ties into my last tip, which was the busy time and slow times. If you are breaking it up, you can incorporate it into slower times, busier times, break it up for multiple times in a day or multiple days. That way you've got yourself figured out and you can go ahead and focus on what you need to and still get those awesome creative shots that you want to instead of being burnt out or just being too tired. A lot of times when you're using heavy equipment, that can also be very tiring, so you might not be able to do a shoot for a full day. You might have to break it up into multiple parts of the day or in multiple days. So keep that in mind based on what project and what size of project you're working on. Moving on, tip number 9. Tip number 9 is a location ready. There's 2 parts to this. Number 1, the establishment has to be clean and presentable. So making sure that you give your customer an opportunity to clean up and make it look prestigious. That way when you come in, everything is super nice and clean. It's presentable. You don't have to wait for them to clean up after, you know, before your shoot. So let them know, you know, just hey, heads up, I'm coming out on Friday between this and this time frame, and can you please make sure everything looks presentable? That way you are ready to roll the minute you arrive there. The second part to this is making sure that they've got the appropriate amount of crew for you. What I mean by that is a lot of times establishments have basically a skeleton crew working, and so if you are there and no one's able to help you out in what you need, then it makes it difficult for you to be able to shoot on site. So if you're able to ask the customer, say, hey, can you make sure you're appropriately staffed that day? Number 1, the staff just looks happy. Number 2, someone can cater to you and you're not gonna mess up their busy day if they become frustrated because they've got a customer they gotta go deal with, but you're asking questions, things like that. It just doesn't go well. So making sure that, you know, the establishment that you're shooting at has the appropriate staff on site for that day will help you out tremendously, will help the crew out for that day tremendously as well, because they will be fully staffed and happy and smiling and willing to help you and helping you make a great shoot. So that is tip number 9, make sure they're appropriately staffed. Last but not least, number 10. Number 10 is do your research. So if you are, regardless of which establishment you're shooting for, figure out what their competition is, or ask them what their competition is. Get a feel of what advertisements, what promotional content that they have put out. You don't want to have your content look exactly how the competitor's content is. You know, the reason they're hiring you is because they want to be able to promote their product and their services. So it's important that you make your work stand out from the competition. Otherwise, the customer that's hired you to do the content, they're probably not going to be pleased, because if it's exactly the same as their competitor, what advantage does that give them, right? So making sure that you do your research, you figure out what their competition is, how can you make your product, your video, or whatever it might be, your photos, look different than what other people have done. The main goal is to make it unique, make it creative, that way the customer is going to be happy, but also tying it into my earlier tip of delivering on the content that the customer is looking for. Don't just go out and start shooting and assuming you've got the money shot, the client's going to be happy. Again, no, ask questions, figure out what they want you to record and shoot and capture, and then deliver on that. But making sure that you are fully ready to go based on the research that you've done will definitely go a long way in the client's mind. So that is 10 things you need to be mindful of when you're going on site for a shoot. So, all right guys, hopefully you found these tips to be helpful. If you've got any tips that you want to share with myself or others who are watching this video, drop them down below in the comments section. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I upload a video. Make sure you tune in for Tutorial Thursdays, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. And today we're talking about 10 things you need to know. Today, we're talking about... That didn't work. Hey, my camera's blowing up. Is that good? Can you guys read that?